weighing in. I want to bring in Jake Sherman, co-founder of Punchbowl News and an MSow political contributor. Stuart Stevens, chief strategist of Mitt Romney's 2012 campaign and senior advisor to the Lincoln Project, is with us as well. Jake, are these 5 Republicans outliers, or are you hearing wider discontent?
They're outliers, but that doesn't, I mean, it matters, but there are big impacts here for the president. Number one, if enough Senate Republicans are upset, they could stop any new Fed nominee. Remember, Jay Powell's term is over in May. If they can't confirm another chair, he remains the chair. The thing I keep hearing over and over again, Chris, is that just it's an unforced error, and they're not really clear what the president is getting out of this and whether the people around the president are serving his best interests. Because, I mean, Jay Powell, again, he's not going to be, whether you like him or not, he's not going to be there for that long. And the thing that was really, I think, a gut punch to the president is French Hill, the chair of the House Financial Services Committee, who came out and said that this is a distraction from lowering prices, lowering costs, and getting the economy back on track.
So, Jake, just so we're clear, does Senator Tillis have the leverage behind his threat to oppose future confirmations? Yeah?
He does. Yeah, for the most part, yes. I mean, there are procedures that they could take to free up nominees from committee. There are things that they could do, but what Tillis can do is he could stop the banking committee from reporting out any nominee. Now, there are ways to extract nominees who do not pass from committee, but it's much more difficult. So, yes, he has a qualified veto power, I would say, Chris.
So, Stuart, Congress actually gave the Fed the authority to set interest rates for the specific reason of avoiding political interference. I mean, do you think that this new legal push puts Republicans in a tough position?
Yeah, look, this is just part of a continuation of Donald Trump's thuggery, his retribution, and his instinct that no one can disagree with me. There can be no goodwill differences here. And it's an attack on a continuation of this broad attack on what makes America successful in the world. We want to get out of NATO. We're going to end an independent Fed. All of this is tied together. And Donald Trump's instinct is always to double down. It goes back to the whole Roy Cohn theory that he has, always attack, never admit. And there's a direct line between, the Vice President of the United States getting up there and saying that a man who shoots somebody 3 times in the face has absolute total immunity, which is complete nonsense, of course. And it's like, cross us and we will come after you. I saw a lot of episodes of The Sopranos that seem to work the same way. It's a terrible way for a president to act.
Jake, you have to, put this in a larger context, which is congressional Republicans breaking from Trump on a growing number of issues, right? 5 senators over the War Powers Resolution, 17 House Republicans over the extension of Obamacare subsidies. Congressional Republicans were also critical in passing the Epstein Files Transparency Act. So I wonder what you're watching for going forward, especially as we get closer and closer to the midterms, in what we might see from members of Congress, Republican members of Congress.
Well, I would say that that's all right. That's all true. The vast majority of Republicans are still obviously in Trump's corner and will defend him and do anything he wants on any given issue and back him on any given issue. But what you're seeing is with Republicans' numbers in the economy slipping and Democrats gaining in public perception and in public polling, what you're seeing is Republicans voting in a way that shows that they're putting their self-interest instead of ahead of the president's position and the president's whatever priority he's pushing on any given day. What are we watching for going forward? I mean, listen, I think when the president has nominees, like a nominee for the Fed, what happens to the health care bill when it's in the Senate? Now, the president has said this bill to extend Obamacare subsidies, he would potentially veto it. Are there going to be a critical number of Senate Republicans who are going to vote for an extension of the Obamacare subsidies? So all of those things are things that I'm watching in the next couple of weeks. And again, the meta story here is, do Republicans continue to shift away from the president as we get closer to the election?
So, Stuart, the Wall Street Journal suggests that Trump's investigation of Powell is also a warning to the next Fed chair. The message to all Fed officials is that define Trump is an invitation to have their backgrounds and public statements investigated for a pretext for removal. I mean, does this narrow the list of people who want to serve? Does Congress even consider that? What's the real world impact there?
Well, look, one of the reasons that totalitarian societies have difficulty getting really qualified people to work for them is exactly this sort of thing. Because if you offer an opinion that is your best opinion, that is based on your experience and what's your view at issue, and it doesn't agree with the leader will come after you. And it's a terrible message. It's a great difficulty in American life to get really top people to participate in government, run for office, serve in positions. So, of course, and this is why, Trump has these bottom feeders who surround him. These are people who would never have a position if it wasn't for Donald Trump. And that's his management style. They will have ultimate loyalty to him. So what he hates about someone like Powell is he didn't need Donald Trump. He was more successful than Donald Trump. And that drives Donald Trump crazy.
Jake Sherman, Stuart Stevens, thank you both.